Hello, everybody. Welcome to Celebrate Southern Africa. My name is Dawn Denton, and today's guest is someone sitting on the other side of the pond from me. We had a giggle about this because the pond is a big body of water between the UK and the US. And welcome, Neil Diamond. It's so lovely to chat to you on Celebrate because we connected a while ago, didn't we?
We did indeed, Dawn. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's good afternoon for us, which is so. This is the beauty of technology. I am so excited to hear about your life in the US and how you've managed to bring South Africans together in the United States. Because at the moment, you are chairing the South African Chamber of Commerce in the US.
Indeed, Dawn. Thank you so much. The US has got slightly different descriptions than we used back home. So over here, they would call me the president of the South African Chamber of Commerce. In South Africa, the only president is the one that heads up government. But in this country, seems like everybody can be a president, or anybody could be a president. Land of opportunity.
I love that. So it would sound so much more important, the president. So how did you end up getting involved with the chamber in the US?
So my family moved over to the US kind of mid-2018. I joined them only at the end of 2019. And initially coming here, it was so overwhelming. I was really traumatized. I'm a heart and soul South African from the Lowveld. Nelspruit is what I call home. And coming to the US, I felt alone. I felt a little bit lost. And more than likely a little bit afraid as well. I had to use a platform that I could connect with other South Africans. And to my shock and amazement, the structure of the chamber was really decentralized. There were small pockets and groups of South Africans all over the US, but they were not a single unifying body overarching and connecting South Africans. We had the privilege of having a new ambassador that came to the US in the beginning of 2020. I undertook a trip to DC, had a discussion with the ambassador, and jointly with the support of the embassy, we established a new and relaunched South African Chamber of Commerce in the USA, which basically became an overarching body connecting South Africans. And I wasn't lost anymore. I had people I could enjoy my time with.
Absolutely. That's the first thing I did when I moved out of London was I felt isolated and lonely. And the first thing I did was I asked on Twitter, does anybody know South Africans? Because we are a collective wherever we are in the world. And there's an expression that you shared with me. What was that about, herding?
So I had a political mentor in my very, very young day. I spent almost 20 years between having a political career and an administrative career in government. And Dirk Smith, that was the Speaker of Cape Town up until 2021. Dirk always used to say that South Africans are herd animals. We don't walk alone. We seek out our own and we herd together. So, as soon as you are in that herd, you are in a safe place, in a comfortable place. And amazingly, you get into a happy space as well.
Absolutely. We bring the sunshine wherever we go. Now, you are based in Atlanta. Tell me what the climate's like there. Is it like home?
Not at all. And compared to the rest of the US, this is still moderate. But these people have got like the longest winter in the history of mankind. Coming from the Lowveld, Nelspruit has no winter. I kind of recall putting my jacket away and taking it out only a few years later. So coming to the US, we kind of get cold moving in around about October, end of October, and that lasts all the way through till the end of April. At least we don't have snow. As somebody recently said, we had no snow this year, but last night we got 2 inches of pollen. So if you've got allergies, you kind of need to take out your allergy medication. But the weather is good. Compared to the rest of the US, it's really a nice climate. We've got a very large South African community in the southern United States, exactly because of the moderate climate, but also the more rural feel. They call it Southern hospitality. So it really feels like you in Mpumalanga somewhere or in the Free State, where people are open, hospitable, welcoming, and it's just a wonderful environment with a great climate.
Oh, that's fantastic. So how do you keep South Africans connected when in such a very, very big country?
Yes, that is a huge challenge and one that we try to overcome on a regular basis. connecting in person really is a problem. So there are some very large South African events. We've got a South African festival in North Carolina. We've got a Georgia Potjie. We've got a Florida Scarborough. We've got a Texas Potjie. Last weekend, there was San Francisco or Bay Area South Africans, as they call themselves, Braai. So we try and group people geographically to be able to connect in person. But then we also have an overarching connection. We utilize social media, social platforms, YouTube channel. We've got our own magazine that comes out on a quarterly basis, that we are able to connect South Africans with one another in this very, very vast country. To give you an idea, South Africa can fit into the state of Texas.
Oof.
And there are 50 states in the United States. So it's a big place. But South Africans, even if they're in the most far-reaching point in Alaska or in Hawaii, have connected with us because they are able to feel at home. All our events are also streamed on social media. So even if I'm not able to attend the Florida Scarborough, I can put a choppy over here on my braai in Atlanta and feel like I'm with the rest of them down there in Florida.
That's fantastic. I love it. Do you get to speak Afrikaans very much? Do you speak Afrikaans at home?
Well, as you can hear with my Dutchman accent, I am Afrikaans. So we still speak Afrikaans. And I've got more Afrikaans friends here in Atlanta than what I actually had in Nelspruit. And I miss my Afrikaans friends in Nelspruit dearly, but we're a large South African community. So we get to speak Afrikaans a lot. We engage in Afrikaans quite a bit. Yes, it's like being at home, actually.
So why is it that people went to Atlanta? Was it for a company, or is it because we just tend to go where we know we've got a community? How do people just end up together in these pockets?
So maybe before I address other people, I can share with you why I came to Atlanta. My family have been traveling to the USA every year since about 99 for our annual December vacation. I just loved, I never had the opportunity to come to Disney as a kid. So I kind of went to Disney every year for 20 years because that's what I wanted to do. And from that base, we traveled the entire United States. When we decided to relocate to the US, I realized that I cannot live alone. I cannot be somewhere where I don't know other South Africans. So places like the Midwest or the South West would have been totally difficult for me because there are not such large South African groupings. I had a friend that invited me down from Washington, D.C. to Atlanta about 5 years ago. And when I saw the large South African community that we're here, we were having a dinner speaking Afrikaans in the middle of Buckhead. I just knew this is where I had to be. I think other South Africans kind of relocated here. There was a first initial migration just after 94, where a large group of South Africans left the country. And there was a direct flight at that stage between Johannesburg and Atlanta. And many people kind of just got off the plane and settled where they got off the plane. I know many folks that just came here with the suitcases that they had and kind of settled and made a life. America is really a land of opportunity. But as time progressed, that flight was changed. It was rerouted to Miami, and then later there was no flights, direct flights. Only South African Airways flew up to New York and Washington. And luckily, Delta reintroduced that flight a couple of years ago. So we see the new wave of South Africans. I think in the last 5 years, there's been a huge migration of South Africans again, and a lot of them are settling in. What the Chamber does very effectively is we provide a network for new arrivals to connect. I find that as time progresses, South Africans assimilate in the new society and in the new environment. And some South Africans sadly say, look, I left the country. I'm not really that keen on doing a South African thing anymore. I don't speak Afrikaans anymore. My kids and my new family is American. So, you know, I'm American. But for everyone, there is 5 South Africans that are here that says, I miss my country. I want to celebrate being South African. I'll never forget where I came from. No matter how many years I live in the US, my birth certificate will be the same. And even if you take up a new citizenship, no matter where in the world you are, your birth certificate will always denote you as a South African. So in that perspective, people want to still be together and get together.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. But it is also such a challenge to move to a country that is so different because, Africa and the US are like worlds and worlds apart. If someone was moving to the US for the first time, what advice would you give them?
Learn American, first and foremost.
I know it's so true. When I was in the States and I said, hold the lift, then it goes. If I say hold the elevator, it stays.
I have this experience on a regular basis, walking into a restaurant, asking for a glass of water. And then the waiter is like, yeah, sorry, I didn't get that. I'm like, I'd like a glass of water. And they're like, could you repeat that? I'm like, water? And they're like, could you explain it? I'm like, it's a clearless, scentless, see-through liquid that comprises about 80% of the human body, and all the oceans are filled with it. Oh, water. Why didn't you say water? We got water. Now I'm like, where did you people learn English? You clearly didn't go to Hoërskool Nelspruit, that's for sure. So yeah, I think the big advice is, just kind of integrate, accept that things are different. Because we saw American TV doesn't mean we know what American culture is about. Little House on the Prairie doesn't exist. The Brady's, I've been looking for them for 2 years, can't find them. Knight Rider isn't around. So you kind of think American culture because you watch American TV, and then you get here and you come to realize maybe the language is the same, but the culture is vastly different from what the culture is in South Africa. And you need to change. You need to be able to integrate, because if you can't, it's going to be a very painful process. But we are here to help. We're here to take hands. We share stories. We laugh together. The American sense of humor is completely different than our sense of humor. A typical South African will tell their child to do something before they beat them to a pulp. If you say that in good American company, you've got child services at your door the next morning. So, it's a total different environment. But at the same time, the Americans are the most neighborly, friendly, hospitable people, caring, reaching out. They find us fascinating. They want to hear our stories. Something my wife recently shared with me is there's 2 core principles in America. They love a story, but they also love sincerity. So, manage the jokes that you share, because they don't always experience our jokes as humor. They sometimes experience it as insincere, and that creates a challenge for you in this environment.
Wow. That is such a useful piece of information. Now, the members that have found you, what kinds of members have you got? I believe you've got a really wide range of people who've joined the chamber.
So initially, we wanted to connect business and have a very focused approach on bilateral trade between South Africa and North America, promoting economic development, economic transformation, economic inclusion for South Africans into the Main Street economy of the United States, focusing mainly around investment, tourism, and business. We very soon realized that we are excluding a very large portion of our population. There are so many South Africans that came to work for Fortune 500 companies. In Atlanta, we've got Coca-Cola as one of the biggest employers of South Africans in North America. So, when you say, I'm only here for business people, you kind of forget that there are professionals, there's academics, there's students, there are folks working in corporates that don't have their own businesses, but do want to participate. And then we've got a lot of individuals. So we kind of looked at what do the other countries do. And if I look at the UK chamber in the US, or the German American chamber, the Nigerian American chamber, they have got a strong social component as well as a strong business component. So we said, let's open our membership, not just to our business community, but let's become a body, a non-governmental organization that can be a home for South Africans in the US. And therefore, our membership categories are from individuals straight through to corporates.
I mean,
And
I think the last time I attended an event as well, there were some retired South Africans who were just so keen to connect.
they are. We don't want to exclude anybody. And I think we live in a society today where inclusivity is very important, development, growth, support. If we are serious about having our South African culture survive and thrive within the new societies where we have replanted our roots, whether it is the UK or whether it's North America, we need to ensure that those stories that our older folks tell are shared down to our children and our next generation. So we want to make sure that kids feel just as comfortable at a chamber event as a retired person, but that they get just as much value out of it as somebody that's got a corporate job.
And nowadays, the kids are all speaking with American accents, no doubt.
Oh my word, my children, it drives me nuts, especially if I say to them something and they say, sure. I'm like, if we were in South Africa, my plucky would have shooed you against the head. But once again, you shouldn't make jokes like that because child services will become knocking at your door.
That's hilarious. It is so funny. I find it must be really interesting to have your children speak with such a very different accent. And do they hear you differently as well?
I see the longer we are here. So when we came over, my son was 9. My daughter was just turning 13. My daughter's about to turn 18. When we just came here, they were very much South African, still spoke, they would say red robot. Now they say red robot. The R has almost disappeared out of their vocabulary. But they have assimilated, the younger one assimilated a lot better than any of us, the rest of us. My daughter, interestingly enough, has made a 180-degree turn where she spoke with a solid American accent. She's now kind of reverted back to a more South African accent because America has got 360 million people. And you are kind of just a number unless you've got something that makes you unique. So having an accent and speaking with an accent just defines you off everybody else. It makes you unique. It makes you different. And it's something to be proud of. I love it when people ask me where I'm from. I normally say the South because I live in the South, but they very quickly call me out. And then I just need to take them a little bit further south. So, I'm like from South Africa. What kills me if they say, so where's that? I mean, like the southern tip of Africa.
The clue is in the name.
I remember the Steers ad in South Africa a few years back where a guy said he's from South Africa and the American guy said, so is that in Mexico? So yeah, it's something like that, but it's all in good fun. And I think it depends on how you as a person experience it and take it. If you take it in your stride and you enjoy the jokes, you can make a great fun life out of living in another country as a South African.
Absolutely.
Be proudly South African and still celebrate South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think one of the things that I admire the most is when people leave South Africa and then set up a business. That is so brave in a foreign country. You must have a lot of members who are new to business or after they immigrated decided that's what they wanted to do.
So I think that is a great question that you are posing because the business environment is truly different to what it is in South Africa. Highly regulated, everything has got a license. There are so many rules to navigate. Where in South Africa, you kind of wing it. As long as you don't do anything illegal, you can kind of do anything. In the US, you can only kind of do what the law says you can do, which makes it difficult. And because South Africans are lateral thinkers, thinking out of the box, a boer maak 'n plan type of people, they very easily get into a difficult position in the US. So what we try and do as the Chamber is assist them and support them in navigating that. First and foremost, helping them to legally register their businesses in the United States. We've got members that specialize in that. We also have members that are accountants and CPAs or CAs, as they are known in South Africa, that can just help and guide them in that process to make sure that the foundation of their business is accurate and correct, and then also guide them. Taxation is a big thing in the US. So some people are within an environment where they pay no state tax. Other people pay a lot of state tax. We all pay federal taxes. Then you still have local tax, city tax, sales tax, property tax. And we don't have these levels of things in South Africa. So it's important for us to help people to navigate that, and then to help them grow and scale their businesses. South Africans will always be the primary source of business for other South Africans. And we try and connect South Africans to support one another in their businesses as they grow and as they scale their businesses.
So how do you do that? So if you have online, and you have a lot of online events as well, where people can connect and kind of find new customers or find new collaborators or people just to help them through those processes.
Also, COVID has made that process exceptionally difficult. I mean, as South Africans, we're not really computer people. I know we've got some very clever computer people out there, but maybe because we come from the birth of mankind, we kind of do things a little bit more Neanderthal-y than everybody else. I don't even know if Neanderthal-y is a word, but let's humor me. So, we still like to see other people. We still like to read their body language and get a feel from them, who they are, what they're all about. And COVID has made that exceptionally difficult. We've had a couple of online events. It has really been difficult. We do have webinars that we've got good participation in, but we haven't really had that close connection. What we have used is other platforms. So our SAFA magazine that is available on safamag.com is a quarterly publication where we actually showcase businesses, what they sell, what they do, how they grow their businesses in their communities, how other South Africans can reach them and connect with them. On our chamber website, through our membership portal, we also have an opportunity for people to connect with one another. Whenever somebody approaches us for business or with a business idea, we tend to ensure that we keep it in-house with our South African community. So whether it's a legal service, an accounting service, import service, export service, an immigration service, we kind of try and keep it in-house as possible. We are also growing and scaling. Not all our members are kind of opening up their books, as to say, to have other people let in. A big challenge we face in the United States is these privacy issues. And I don't know if you've got the same in the UK. Yeah. I know South Africa is now coming online with that. It's the most strangest thing. I've got people joining the chamber and then not populating any information on their membership form. And you're like, okay, so what do you do? They're like, no, we just want to be part. But okay, so why do you want to be part? Because they say no, they don't want people to know what's going on in their business or what's happening. And it's so strange because kind of in South Africa, we're a very open society. If you know what my business is, we kind of, if I don't, I'm going to put my nose into your business in any way because I'm Neskirach. I need to know what's happening in your business. Where over here, people will play their cards very close to their chest. So networking has been one of our challenges. As we are coming to the end of COVID and we're really looking forward to a great summer, reconnecting. A lot of people are going back to work. Many companies have brought their employees back from April 1st, which is only a few days ago. We are looking at setting up in-person networking events starting this summer in our various chapters throughout the United States. So if you're in an area called the DMV, which is not the Department of Motor Vehicles, it's Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, there'll be an in-person event. We'll be having in-person events in Atlanta. There's already in-person social events, but we now need to ensure that we've got in-person business events. We also have in-person connections. So we have recently had an event at the embassy where we partnered with the embassy and the Department of Trade and Industry. They invited wine merchants, wine retailers, hoteliers that buy wines, and we brought some of our South African members to the event where they were able to showcase their South African wines to an American market. We'll be doing exactly the same on other South African products, including crafts and goods that would support and underpin some of our township economies and local economies in South Africa. So we are working on it, but it is a work in progress. We have the same challenges as all other chambers across the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. But it sounds like you're really very active and you have a fast growing community. If someone wants to kind of reach out to you, what are the best ways they can contact you?
We've got a connect with us button on our webpage, which is sachamberusa.com. And then I would encourage people to check out our Facebook page, which is South African Chamber of Commerce in the USA. We also have a Facebook group, SAFA Mag Facebook, that we share all our information on those platforms. Today, it's difficult because you've got folks that say, oh, well, I'm actually on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook, or I do a TikTok. I've tried the whole TikTok thing. It's a little bit embarrassing with a tie to try and convince a group of investors on TikTok to spend money in South Africa. We found that our largest community of South Africans are on Facebook, both young and old. And that's how they connect with Oma and Opa back home in South Africa, in Vrystaat or in Elspruit. So we use those platforms very effectively. And I'd like to invite people to check out our social media pages, look at our website, connect with us, and become part of our community. I need to mention that we're not the only chamber outside of South Africa. We've got a wonderful relationship with the South African Chamber in the UK, which I know is where we found the roots in our connection. We've got a South African Chamber in Singapore. There's a South African Chamber in Germany. And we kind of are taking hands with those other chambers so that we can provide an aligned service to our members, bearing in mind that each country would have its unique offering depending on what their members require and what their membership profile is. But we've learned so much from Sharon and the team at the SA Chamber UK that have allowed us to improve SA Chamber USA. And we'd like to share those best practices with other chambers around the world so that it can become a collection point of South Africans wherever they are in whatever country in the world.
And you know that when we do well outside of South Africa does well as a byproduct, because not only are we the champions of our country, but we still have so many connections. You know, we are sending gifts home, or we have investments, or we still have properties or pensions or all sorts of things in South Africa. And we'll take our families on holiday there. So in the long run, the better we do wherever we are, the more South Africa benefits anyway.
Absolutely. We see our role as business ambassadors of our country. The president made a call on all South Africans to support the economic reconstruction and development of our country post-COVID. At the recent wine event at the embassy in Washington, D.C., I shared with those American buyers that buying a South African product, which in the case happened to be a bottle of wine, is more than just a bottle of wine. It's more than just a South African product. It sustains and supports an entire economy on the other side of the big pond of the Atlantic. It provides employment. It provides economic activity. It supports a father and a mother bringing income home to sustain their children. It supports education. It supports export. It supports a box packer, a bottle manufacturer, a label printer, all in one bottle of wine that is being sold. So it almost becomes a social contract, a social responsibility that you can take up and be proud that the bottle of wine that you are buying or the wine that you are drinking is not just world class, but it is also giving a social input back into a continent that desperately needs it post-COVID. And that goes for all our South African products.
I agree with you. So the message really is drink more wine. Is that what you're trying to say?
It's a little bit early for me, but I can definitely encourage you to have a glass of good South African wine.
What is the thing that you miss the most about South Africa?
I think the single thing I miss the most is South Africans, is society, its community. It's hearing not just Afrikaans, but hearing Zulu, hearing Swati, hearing Xhosa, having the diversity of our country. And even though we sometimes grapple with how everybody fits into that diversity, just knowing that I've got a space in there and that space is home. I'm sure in time I will find my place in this society and have my feet grounded in a new environment. But I miss being South African. I miss being a South African on South African soil.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is the thing I miss the most.
Yeah. And what do you love the most about representing South Africa as the president of the chamber?
I enjoy the most being able to share our country, our diversity, our uniqueness as South Africans into the American society. We bring with us so many wonderful attributes, talents, character that I think allows the Americans to broaden their own society. Um, we are lateral thinkers. We make plans. We see the bigger picture. We don't operate in silos. And that adds value in a society and in an environment where people are very autonomous, focused on one direction. A best example is if you're in an aisle at a shopping, in a grocery store, and you say, man, can you help me with where the olive oil is? The guy would say, that's not my aisle. I don't know where that is because I only work in the cereal box aisle, so I can't help you in the oil aisle. It's ludicrous, but those are the things that I think we bring to the US. And then I think knowing that I do make a difference, as you rightfully said, every morning that I wake up, every activity that I undertake, even this interview, reaching somebody somewhere, makes a difference in the lives of South Africans back home. I will always be a South African, even if I carry dual citizenship of being a US citizen and a South African citizen. My birth certificate will always denote me as a South African, and my heart will always be in South Africa, specifically in Nelspruit, but always in South Africa.
Absolutely. I think that's brilliant. So being a Nelspruit baby myself, I can kind of relate to that, although I left when I was very little, but it's still very much who I am. And then I went to school in Potch. So I went from the one side of the province to the other, which has given me a real grounding and being able to survive Joburg. I mean, there's a reference that you made about the Big Apple. If you can survive New York, then it's a bit like surviving Johannesburg, isn't it?
Look, if you can survive Gauteng and Joburg, they say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Well, I can tell you, if you made it in South Africa, if you made it in Joburg, no place can hold you back. You can make it anywhere. I would maybe just like to share this specific thought, because in South Africa, we need to be so creative, innovative, dynamic in how we do things, almost reinvent ourselves on every day, on every step of our journey. In business in South Africa, just being in the society in South Africa, navigating a society where there's a lot more rules, guardrails, checks and balances, do's and don'ts in place, actually becomes a lot easier because you find ways to cope with all these barriers, which we don't have in South Africa. But as South Africans, we rise to the top, we rise to the occasion, and we make it work. And I can say that South Africans are a resilient nation. No matter whether I speak to folks that's relocated in the UK like yourself, or folks that relocated to Singapore. I recently spoke to a group of South Africans in Japan. And everybody's just so resilient in how they were able to redefine themselves, understand how they fit in the new environment. But one central theme remains the same, and it goes back to what I shared with you earlier. South Africans need other South Africans. We are herd animals. You can make it anywhere if you've got one or two other South Africans with you. And we're not always going to agree. We don't fight any less than what we fought in South Africa. Sometimes the fights are more intense over here, but we somehow just like family work it out and we get through it. And on the other side, we are there to support one another in making the best we possibly can in this new environment.
Oh, that is so lovely. I just love hearing that from you. It makes it's heartwarming, and it's a very African sentiment, and I really truly appreciate it. I am so thrilled we got to chat, and I'm so excited that we managed to share about what you're doing with the chamber in the US. And if there's anyone who has family or friends in the US, they need to connect with Neil, because there are opportunities there, whether it's for friendships, just to share the best biltong that's made in the US, so that it's not jerky, because we don't want to eat jerky. No.
Definitely not. No.
No.
Jerky is not biltong. Let me just be very clear.
Oh,
Jerky is not biltong.
oh, it's awful. You know what I tasted this week, and I was horrified. It was vegan biltong, and I was like, oh, what's it made of? It's really just tofu that's been dehydrated with no flavoring. Like when you eat cardboard, it has a flavor. This didn't even have a cardboard flavor. So yeah, vegan biltong, something very special and new that someone's trying to invent.
I can say with pride that there's very little food-wise that I do miss from South Africa, because South Africans over here have started making biltong. We make boerewors. All those delicacies that we enjoy back home are available over here. We've got a wonderful South African store in Atlanta that distributes throughout the United States, called the South African Emporium. And anything you want from back home, you can kind of find here. But the sustenance that all of us needs is biltong. Okay, and then I need to add on wine as well. If I can drink South African wine, I can be anywhere on the planet. I'll be happy.
And for me, I'll add on a milk tat. Then I'm happy. Then I'm completely fulfilled. Neil, have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day, because you've got more of the day ahead of you. Just to let you know that your future looks bright, because I'm in your future right now. I'm 5 hours ahead of you, 6 hours?
I believe you are 5. South Africa's 6. So
Okay. Thank you so much, and best of luck. And please do stay in touch, and we look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for this great opportunity.
Chat soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.